All right, let's talk about the Saints and Derek Carr, who, things have not gone perfectly for New Orleans. I think we thought that this could be a really high-powered offense to pair with a good defense when Derek Carr was brought in. A lot, pretty much the Saints were the consensus pick to win the division, and while that's still certainly possible, as they're just a half game behind Tampa Bay right now, certainly the offense has been underwhelming. They haven't scored more than 20 points, with the exception of when they were playing the Patriots, who aren't very good. So, what's gone wrong so far? Well, that's the question we're going to ask. Let's start off with something like this, which I have to say, Carr's just made some weird decisions. Like, I've never seen someone like this where Derek Carr was a pretty consistently good decision maker, and then like last year he started making some bad decisions. This year he's made some bad decisions. Like, this is not a good decision. It's zone coverage. You have a receiver running a deep route. Typically, this is supposed to push the safeties further deep. The over the middle route, that's typically what gets open. Every now and then the safeties step in anyways, and you get someone wide open down the field, or even like a one-on-one, jump ball down the field. But like on this play, this is kind of what you hope to see if you're a Texans fan, which is it's covered all around. The two safeties are staying deep, and the over the middle route is not as open, as there's Texans players covering the middle who are staying back to cover that over the middle route. So neither situation is open. So for Derek Carr, well, what do? Well, hopefully you have a check down to hit. Even that wouldn't go for many yards. It's good defense, not the best offense getting open, so that's an issue. But also, Carr is just going to throw it down the field into double coverage, and I'm assuming he was hopeful that his receiver could split the difference and get to the end zone that way. I don't know, though. That's a risky play, I think, by Derek Carr. Again, is this a bad decision? Is this maybe they just don't have the chemistry down, and maybe it would work with receivers he does have the chemistry? I think it's a bad decision, but maybe, I'll let you be the judge on that one. Granted, there are some legitimately really good plays from Carr. I want to make that very clear. Is you do see flashes of greatness, and I think that's why I haven't given up on this Derek Carr experiment by any means yet. You do still see some really good stuff. Something like this, where what's going to happen is it's a zone coverage play. You have a receiver who's going to be running a deep route. And again, quarters coverage, is this really going to work out? I don't know. There's two players covering deep. You think that you should be okay. However, you see Derek Carr take the snap, and if you've watched enough of these videos, I've made this analogy before, but it's like the bystander effect, right? Where the way it goes is that if there's one person that witnesses the crime, they're very likely to call the police. But if a crime happens in a crowd of people, each individual person is a lot less likely to call the police. Well, if you have help, sometimes you're less likely to cover the deep shot, and that's what's happening here. You see how the player who I've circled in black, the Houston safety, he is not covering deep when he probably should have been. And for Carr, this is what you brought Carr in for, and why you didn't draft a rookie and instead signed a veteran, is because he is capable of noticing this stuff. Watch him bomb the ball down the field, really throws a strike, perfectly done, and that's what kind of maybe drives you a little crazy if you're a Saints fan. It's like, why is this happening? Because you're not doing this consistently, but it's not like he just sucks. If he just sucks, oh, okay, he sucks, let's move on. That's not what's happening. He'll show these flashes of being exactly who he was, only for it to then kind of backfire. Something like this is another interesting one where, the Saints love to not necessarily always push the ball down the field. I mean, the Sean Payton scheme is kind of built around utilizing passing to the running back. That was kind of a big staple of those, great Drew Brees, Sean Payton years, that was a big part of their offense. Here, utilizing your running back, especially when you have Alvin Kamara going to be running it's a wide receiver screen. Kamara's out wide as a wide receiver. It's a wide receiver screen with a running back lined up as a wide receiver. Right off the bat, you see, it's a good situation. There was only two Houston players over there. This should go for a good amount of yards. I understand why they're doing this. It's on a third down. You got to get to the 34-yard line. But I'm highlighting one block in particular here. Watch how it's just not going to work out. It's able to get off that block and make a tackle, good defensive play, or bad block, whichever way you want to look at it. But that's another aspect, right? Is if this is your offense and these are the kind of things you do, you have to be capable of winning, right? You have to win your one-on-one matchups. It's not always just a receiver getting open downfield or a quarterback making a throw. A lot of little things go into this. But this play is just something we're seeing far too frequently. Because I think a lot of people look at this and say, well, wait a second. I mean, you got Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara. The offensive line has some issues, but Derek Carr is good. Like how is this happening? Well, the reality is, for one thing, offensive line has been, I would say, bad this season. And, another thing is plays like this are just happening far too frequently. First, I want you to look at the left tackle. Right there, that's Trevor Penning, who I'm not going to say has been a complete mess, but he hasn't been good, for sure. He certainly hasn't been good. I mean, he looks like an NFL player, just not a very good one, I guess is what I would say. Sort of the first-year player, was drafted last season, but was hurt for basically all of last season. Here, watch how when Carr takes the snap, there's the pressure right away. Carr, to his credit, feels it and is going to sort of get outside the pocket. Several things to look at. First, there's two players I've circled in yellow. You might notice that they're both on the ground right here. So when 2 out of the 5 of your eligible receivers are falling down, that's not ideal. Obviously, I'm not saying that receivers are falling down too much and that's the Saints' issue. Just it's a sort of extreme and humorous example of guys not getting open. The 3 players I've circled in black are also not open here. So for Carr, he's going to, flip the ball and just flip it away, because what else can you do? It's not going to help the stat sheet, might help his PFF grade, but that's it. Not going to help out the overall numbers. It's the right play, but you don't want that to be the right play. You want the right play to be, hitting a guy open down the field for a touchdown, and this is happening too frequently. Yes, they have talented receivers who can make plays, but there's also times when they aren't getting open. Sometimes they're getting open, but they don't have time to get the ball to those talented receivers. The reality is, really no one, I would say, Chris Olave has been really good, but as of right now, Rashid Shaheed and Michael Thomas, I think have been solid this year. Kamara is still coming back from injury. I think Carr hasn't been good enough, and I think the offensive line hasn't been good enough, and that's why it's been an underwhelming offense, because the players haven't been playing that well. Also, this play, which I'm going to show again because it's funny more than anything, but it is worth mentioning too. Again, one-on-one matchups across the board for a team with a good receiving core. This is what you expect to be able to be dominant on. Instead, Carr takes a snap, and I'm assuming this ball just sort of slipped out of his hand. He ends up throwing it just like a couple of yards down the field. That was funny. That wasn't good by the Saints. But as a whole, why is this an issue? Well, I mean, I know PFF isn't everyone's cup of tea, but let's just use their grades. Currently, their overall passing grade for the team, 19th best in football. That's throwing the football. Their receiving grade is 18th best, and then their pass blocking grade currently 25th best. So, I mean, when you have all of that working against you, running game is 20th best in terms of just pure rushing the football, 19th best in run blocking. They're not really above mediocre in any specific category, and they're below average in most of them. So it's just hard to win too many football games when that's happening. Defenses allowed you to win some, right? But the offense has to pick it up, and really they need guys to get open more. They need Carr to not make as many dumb mistakes, and they need to block better. And I don't know how you make that happen. Part of me kind of wonders, listen, part of why some of this receiving isn't going as well is some of the routes. Have guys go down the field. You are a good deep threat team. I think that should be a bigger part of their offense. To me, that's one twist I would, one wrinkle I would throw into this offense. Just throw the ball down the field more. It's kind of what you're at your best at, assuming Carr is healthy, which we don't know his health, but seems like he's healthy. But yeah, tough start to the year for the Saints offense, but hey, at least you're still, your defense has allowed you to win some games anyway. So yeah, that's what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.